Hey guys, Diane here, and today I'm going to be giving you a list of books that I feel would be really good for someone who's just getting into the horror genre, or maybe you're kind of a scaredy cat and you don't want to read something super scary. So hit that like and subscribe button and we'll get into it. Okay, so first off, I'm going to start this list off pretty strong. So I'm going to go with Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. And this is a really good place to start, I feel like, because it's so easy to follow. It's just a very easy book to get into. So this is about a woman who has inherited kind of a haunted house from her father. It's almost in the vein of Amityville horror type of thing. They had moved in when she was young. Something catastrophic happened and they moved basically right out. And her dad had written a book about it. And so when she goes back, she's kind of trying to put her memories back in order, trying to figure out what really happened and if the house is really haunted. But this was a really interesting read. It was so easy. I read this book in like 2 days. The cover glows in the dark, so, you know, you're already winning right there. But this was I just feel like Riley Sager is such an easy author to read. I've said in the past that he's, I guess the word mainstream kind of comes to mind, but mainstream things are fun. People like them. That's why they're mainstream, because they're easy to enjoy. So I would definitely not write off Riley Sager. Home Before Dark is a really good and spooky book, so definitely check that out. And then we have The Shuddering by ANIA AHLBORN. And I can't make a list without mentioning my best friend, ANIA AHLBORN. But this is probably her least disturbing book. This is more of a creature feature. So The Shuddering is about a group of people, and they're going out to this very secluded, very cozy, very wintry, cold cabin, and they start getting eaten. So this book was really fun. It's pretty short, and this is perfect for winter or even November, where it's getting colder and you're really wanting to feel, you know, that seclusion, or to feel like you're really in danger. But this book was really good. I love ANIA AHLBORN. If you've seen my channel at all, you already know that she's one of my favorite authors, so I would definitely check that out. And that's a really good place, I feel like, to start, because if you're really wanting to see or to get into a really good story, but also have a little bit of gore, and just to go from here into any of her books would really be just a good idea to me. And then we have The Children on the Hill by Jennifer Mahone. And I had done a singular book review for this book, and I was a little harsh on it just because it didn't really live up to my expectation. But the more I kind of thought about it, the more I marinated on it, the more I was like, well, actually, it was pretty good. There's still some unsatisfying parts about this book, I'm not going to lie. But I feel like if you're just getting into the horror genre, or if you're wanting to read horror without being really... there isn't a whole lot of disturbing content in this book. But so this is about a woman. She's a monster hunter, and she has had to change her name because of some very catastrophic event in her childhood. And it's two different timelines, from when she's a young girl to when she's grown up, and you're kind of trying to merge the two and trying to figure out what happened. But her grandmother ran an insane asylum, and she had lived on the grounds. So you're kind of thinking, like, what happened between the two? But so this book I really did enjoy this book the more I kind of thought about it, and it was really easy to get through. It's just a really easy story to follow. It's very, you're really kind of invested in what's going on. So that would be a good place to start as well. And then we have Mexican Gothic by SILVIA Moreno-GARCIA. And even if you're not into horror, if you are on planet Earth, I'm sure you've probably heard about this book because it was so popular. When I first read this book, I was a little disappointed because I don't feel like it necessarily lived up to the hype. But kind of like with the last book, the more I kind of thought about it, the more I marinated on it, the more I was like, you know what, that was a really good book. It's not my fault. No one can live up to my expectations. So, but this is about a woman. She gets a very ominous letter from her cousin who's just gotten married, who's kind of telling her she's in danger and she really needs her help. So she goes out to her cousin's like beautiful mansion and is trying to figure out if she is being abused by her her new husband and his family, or what's going on. But this is a very atmospheric book. The fashion in this book is really, I've never really read a book that is so like fashion forward, but everything in this book is just beautiful. You just feel like you are just pretty fancy reading it. But this is super easy to follow. There's not a lot of gore. There's not a lot of disgusting aspects. So this is definitely something I feel like if you're just getting into horror, or if maybe you're wanting just something lighter, that would be a good place to go. And then we have The Lost Village by CAMILLA STEN. And this book is about a group of, I think they're students, college students, and they're trying to film a documentary, and they're going out to this village everyone in the village had disappeared. They just all vanished, and you don't know what happened, but someone in the film crew is actually related to a villager that had vanished, and they have letters talking, kind of going through what happened before everyone had vanished. So you're kind of merging two timelines there as well. But this book was really good, super easy to follow, really easy to really get into, just an easy story to really get immersed in. And I really felt like this book was, I guess, fun to go with the flow and to really figure out what's going on, and to see how everything kind of comes together to I didn't see this ending coming. So this is definitely one that I would suggest that you would read. And to me, it threw me for a loop. So hopefully you're not gonna see the ending coming either. And then we have The Whisper Man by Alex North. And Alex North is another author who I think is just so easy to dive into. If you're in a reading slump, or if you just are having a hard time finding something that is really going to catch your interest, I think that he's a good place to go to. But this is about kind of a multi-generational serial killer who is kind of preying on this family, and you're trying to figure out, who they are, obviously, and why they're preying on certain people. But this book was creepy. This actually really did creep me out. And from my bed, if you look out my window, it's just like fields. And I swore I saw somebody when I was reading this book. Maybe not this. It may have been, that could have been with any of my books, honestly. But this book was really, like I said, it's really easy to get into. It's really easy to follow. It's more of a police procedural, I guess, but it's also, there's a supernatural element. And I always like that in my books. But this is a really good place to start too if you're wanting to maybe get into the serial killer genre. This is a lighter serial killer book, if you will. And then we have Cold Moon Over Babylon by Michael McDowell. And Michael McDowell is phenomenal. I really love, let me see, how many books have I read of his? I think like 3, but I love them all. And I love his style. But this is more of a Southern Gothic horror. And this is about a young girl. She's found brutally murdered, and you're trying to figure out who in this small town could be capable of such a thing, and how they got away with it. And you're really going through the town. You're going from family to family, which I do like the small town. I like when everything's interconnected and you're trying to figure out which one of these people did it. But this was a really good book. I really like Michael McDowell and how he does Southern horror, because it's so hot and it's so sticky and it's so uncomfortable that you really just get into the essence of the book and you just really enjoy it. So that's a good one. And then we have The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor LaValle. And this isn't only an introduction to maybe horror, but also cosmic horror, because this is cosmic horror. It's only 150 pages. To me, this is a more in-depth book than some of these other books, even though it's probably the shortest one. The way that it's written and the way you get to know the main character, you really do feel like you know him. You feel like you're in his world. But this is a book about a guy, and he's a really talented musician, and he is tasked with taking an occult token to someone. I don't remember exactly. It's been a while since I read it. But, once he does that, all hell breaks loose. Everything is just crazy. Like, it literally breaks loose. This book is just really good. And the imagery in this book is really just everywhere. It's expansive. So I really enjoyed this book. It's a little bit of kind of a slow burn, but I wouldn't give up on it. It was really good. It's probably one of my favorite cosmic horror. And like I said, if you're really looking to get into cosmic horror and to kind of dip your toe in it to see if it's maybe something you'd enjoy, I would definitely recommend starting there. And then I could tell you where else to go after that. That's another video. And then we have, last but not least, The Winter People by Jennifer Mahone. And this book is, so this is about a small town, kind of a dying small town in Vermont. It's really cold, it's really cozy, but this is about, it's a multi-generational tale as well, with the disappearance of women and young women and how that coincides with the woods surrounding them. But this book was really good. It's very cozy, it's very cold, and this was a really good, the winter people, book for the winter. But I would definitely suggest, I didn't realize I had 2 Jennifer Mahon books on here, but this, I feel like she's a pretty easy author to get into her stories, to go along with, you know, where she's trying to take you in the story and you're trying to figure out how these 2 timelines intersect, which is really interesting. But this is also a good book. Like I said, any of these books would probably be enjoyable to someone who's kind of starting out. But yeah, so if you've read any of these books, if you think this is a pretty good list, let me know. Or if you think, or if you have any, you know, other recommendations, you know, let me know in the comments, and hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.